In the early days of the Clone Wars, Jedi General Mace Windu was sent on a search and rescue mission for his clone squad, Alpha 2, on a distant, uncharted world. Once he arrives on the barren landscape of the planet, however, he makes a shocking discovery which chills him to the core. He finds out that his men have been viciously transformed into lifeless zombies, being controlled by a Force vampire. So, before we get into it, make sure to smash the subscribe button for more awesome Star Wars lore content. So, the story begins on a nearly empty, distant world, where Mace Windu contacts the Jedi Council, informing them that he has finally reached the final known location of his men, the Alpha 2 clone squad. Windu quickly asks the council if there are any records of a city being present on this remote planet, but they quickly reply to him, letting him know that all of their records show that this place is uninhabited. Because of this, Mace Windu is extremely puzzled to see that there is a sprawling city with a narrow brick bridge towering above him in the distance. Windu immediately begins cautiously strolling towards the city until he eventually reaches the city gate, where he is greeted by an abomination of a droid called Z-18. Z-18 is a junk droid made up of damaged parts from an assortment of other droids, further confusing Mace Windu, but he is able to brush it off. The junk droid then greets the Jedi Master saying, "Come Jedi, you have been expected." Windu is once again incredibly puzzled by what exactly is going on, asking the droid who is expecting him. Z-18 then tells him that the Countess of the planet, Rajine, is expecting an audience with Mace Windu. And at the end of the story, let me know what you think about Z-18, as he is a very unique droid and has been a slave on this planet for many years. The two then begin walking quickly through the warped streets of the city, with Windu continuing to ask the droid questions, but he refuses to answer. This sends Mace Windu into a furious rage, demanding that the droid answer him, but Z-18 is oblivious to his commands and continues on inside of a nearby building. Mace Windu is incredibly annoyed at this point, but as he enters the nearby building, he sees something extremely chilling and shockingly creepy. As he steps inside, he sees that all of his men are sitting at a nearby table, completely lifeless, with their backs straight and not a single word coming out of their mouths. Windu calls out to the commander of the squad, but gets no response. Because of this, Mace Windu moves closer to the group and examines the clone troopers, but unfortunately, very quickly senses that every single one of them is dead. Windu then demands that the junk droid return immediately to explain what has happened to his clone troopers, but Z-18 is nowhere to be seen. In a rage, Mace Windu then begins to sprint outside of the building looking for the droid, but as he does this, he is absolutely terrified as a zombified creature bursts out of the rocky ground below, grabbing his leg with a firm pull. As Windu glances around his surroundings with horror, he quickly notices more and more creatures of a variety of species rising from the ground below, clearly in a lifeless daze, begging him to join them. Windu then begins to fight back against the horde of zombies, punching any that got too close to him, before eventually his own clone troopers begin to march forward in a slow stroll, drooling at the mouth, and creepily asking him to join them in the afterlife. Windu jokingly says, "I appreciate the offer," to all of the zombies, but is quickly able to dismantle and viciously take down every single one of them, punching them out cold, kicking them in the stomach, and throwing them over his shoulder with his precise hand-to-hand combat abilities. Windu then uses the Force to push back the final horde of zombies as they rush towards him, but as he turns his head, he realizes that they are not the final horde of zombies and angrily exclaims that there are just too many of them. Master Windu then shrieks in terror as the zombies, including his own clone troopers, quickly swarm him and begin ripping his clothes from his body, eventually knocking him unconscious. As Windu wakes up, he finds himself shackled and imprisoned inside of a strange lair, before being greeted by a strange purple Force vampire. The vampire tells him that she has been eagerly awaiting the visit of a Jedi for hundreds and hundreds of years. Mace Windu does think to himself, why did it have to be me sent here out of all of the other thousands of Jedi that have come and gone in the last few hundred years? In response, Windu then jokingly says, "Let me loose and I'll bring my Jedi friends, we can have a party." The purple vampire is amused by the Jedi's sense of humor, but is quickly interrupted by Z-18, who tells his master that he is going to power down. And let me know if you feel bad for Z-18, who's really just being used for the dark wishes of this purple vampire. In the corner of his eye, Windu is able to spot the metallic glimmer of his lightsaber on the ground, before quickly attempting to use the Force to draw it towards him, while the vampire is telling the poor junk droid off. She, however, is not fooled by the Jedi's tricks, quickly catching the lightsaber and teasing Windu, asking, "Is something wrong with your Jedi powers? I can't believe a big, powerful Jedi like you can't lift a little bitty lightsaber." She then places his silver hilt directly onto Windu's head, telling him that as soon as he crossed the front gate, she began to viciously drain his life force and would soon have absorbed all of it, which would give her the power to escape her prison. This causes a swift realization to wash over the Jedi Master that this purple lady is actually a vampire, nothing more than a parasite on the Force. The vampire does admit that she is just a parasite, but taunts the Jedi, telling him that she will live far longer than he will. As this is happening, the purple vampire drags Z-18 out of the room, berating him and scolding him for always getting in her way. Again, pretty sad to see this junk droid be treated so badly. Much later on, the scrap droid rushes back into the room in secret, quickly unshackling Mace Windu, much to his surprise. Z-18 quickly tells Windu to follow his lead, carrying the injured Jedi to his destination. He tells Mace Windu that he has served the Countess for hundreds and hundreds of years, but before that, he once served another, a Jedi Knight named Samuro. The droid goes on to say that Samuro sacrificed his own life to imprison the evil vampire Rajine inside of this city, and that his essence in the Force is the only reason that she is confined to the city walls. He goes on to further explain that his old Jedi owner knew that his Force essence would not last forever, and that one day another Jedi would come, and that a Jedi holocron should be given to that Jedi. The droid then hands the glowing blue holocron over to Mace Windu, who then moves out of the courtyard, where he confronts the vampire and her horde of zombies, with his own clone troopers also present. The vampire then suddenly bursts into a violent red rage, knocking Mace Windu cleanly out, leaving him lying on the floor. In anger, she uses Mace Windu's purple lightsaber to brutally slice the poor junk droid in half, before Windu is able to pull the holocron from his pocket and activate it. When he does so, the hologram of the Jedi Knight Samuro begins playing, explaining how he was able to lock the evil vampire up in this mirage of a city, before Windu and the hologram begin to chant in an ancient language, which rips all of the zombies out of their daze and brings them back to the living realm. This sends the purple vampire into an absolute rage and fury, demanding that her zombies obey her, but it doesn't work. All of her zombified servants then begin to turn on her, piling on as she screams to Windu for help. In a relief, Windu then declares that all of the zombie life forces are now free, including his own men. In a heartwarming gesture, Mace Windu also tells Z-18 that he is now a free being who will no longer be forced to serve the commands of the evil vampire. And to end the story, Mace Windu then reports that his Alpha 2 squad is no longer lost, before ending the transmission and reflecting on his absolutely ridiculous and crazy experience. We can only hope that these brave clone troopers are given as much time off of the front lines as they need to mentally and physically recover from being placed into an undead state for such a long period of time. So that is the group of clone troopers who were turned into zombies by a crazy and evil Force vampire before Mace Windu was able to save them. Thanks so much for watching, really hope you enjoyed the video. Make sure to subscribe for more awesome content just like this. Cheers guys, hope to see you in the next one.